Playing the opening hours of Obsidian's The Outer Worlds left me with mixed emotions. I started out not really feeling anything. I was just going through the motions of the game, expecting something, but what that something was, I wasn't sure. Maybe it was the hype being generated about this game online, and an expectation that it would completely blow me away. I started to ask myself why this was the expectation I had in my mind. Why did it feel like something was missing? I decided to go back and try and find out the answer to this question. The Outer Worlds was announced on December 6, 2018 at the Game Awards with a full 2-minute reveal trailer. The trailer kicks off with a Rick Sanchez-looking character running towards the camera and asking whether or not the viewer is experiencing explosive cell death. It's quirky and causes some intrigue. This bit is immediately followed up by stunning visuals depicting alien worlds covered in human settlements as this scientist character explains the basics of what is going on. This trailer definitely had my attention, but I hadn't found the answer quite yet. The trailer played on, and a few seconds later, there it was, from the original creators of Fallout. I admittedly have not played any of the Fallout games to completion, or for more than maybe 2 hours each. I tried playing the original as well as New Vegas, but none of them had gripped me. Maybe that's what I was missing, a connection to the series that Outer Worlds is attempting to be a spiritual successor of. With this expectation identified and out of the way, I continued to play for a few more hours and suddenly found myself falling in love with the game. It managed to get past the hurdle that many spiritual successors struggled to overcome and carved its own identity, standing out as its own unique experience. This got me thinking about other spiritual successors and whether or not they've managed to be as successful and what makes them successful. The first that came to mind was BioShock, which is widely known at this point to be a spiritual successor to System Shock and System Shock 2. If you didn't know this information, you could easily play BioShock as a standalone experience and keep the comparisons from interrupting or influencing your thoughts as you play through the game. Not only is the game amazing, it also brings forth its own interesting gameplay mechanics as well as deep philosophical themes that are still discussed to this day. All in all, BioShock managed to surpass the legacy of the System Shock franchise and even spawn sequels that further explore the world from the first game. Another game I recently played and 100% completed was kickstarted with the sole intention of reviving the legacy of a much-loved franchise from gaming's past. This game is Yooka-Laylee. Yooka-Laylee had been funded through Kickstarter in 2015 by many of the developers who had worked at Rare during its heyday on the Nintendo 64. Its goal was to create a game that brought the spirit and gameplay of the Banjo-Kazooie franchise to modern audiences. Did it manage to do this? I would say yes, but did it manage to be a good spiritual successor? Kind of. Like I said before, an exceptional spiritual successor not only uses the original game as a blueprint, but should also be able to stand on its own footing and surpass the legacy of the original. Does Yooka-Laylee stand on its own? For the most part, it does. By providing mascot-style characters with easily identifiable designs, Yooka-Laylee manages to make itself instantly recognizable. Does it surpass the legacy of Banjo-Kazooie? Unfortunately, it doesn't. The gameplay is competent but hosts many flaws to the point of frustration, and some of the game's mechanics, such as the camera, are so archaic that it just doesn't make sense for a game released in 2017. Although Banjo does have a similar camera control, it never felt like you were fighting with it to the point of wanting to quit. And going into Banjo-Kazooie, you understand that it was developed in 1998, where games were simply different. If your spiritual successor is unable to address the flaws of the original and find ways around them, then it just feels like a rehash of what had been done better in the past. Yooka-Laylee did receive a sequel in the form of a Donkey Kong Country-styled side-scrolling platformer that is receiving more favorable reviews than the first outing, so it is possible that Playtonic Games had corrected many of the problems from the original Yooka-Laylee. Like I mentioned previously, The Outer Worlds has pleasantly surprised me and managed to exceed any expectations or judgments I had when starting the game. It manages to be its own unique experience that learns from the successes and failures of its spiritual predecessors. I hope that developers keen on creating a spiritual successor look to The Outer Worlds as a guide on how to successfully craft a game that stands on its own merits, as well as paying homage to what came before. If you have not started The Outer Worlds, I highly recommend that you give it a playthrough, and if you have Game Pass, there's no excuse not to embark on your journey to The Outer Worlds. For more videos about Xbox games, news, and coverage, make sure to subscribe to Live on Xbox and follow us on Twitter at live_on_Xbox. Links will be in the description. This is Austin signing off for Live on Xbox.